Okay, let's just jump right into it. For what feels like forever, the housing market has been this giant, frustrating puzzle, right? But what if I told you the pieces are, finally, starting to shift? The big question on pretty much everyone's mind is this: could 2026 actually be the year to finally buy a home?
So, before we can really look forward, we have to understand where we've been. And that means we need to talk about what experts have been calling the Great Housing Lock In.
If you've even thought about buying or selling a house recently, this probably hits close to home. It's just been this period where affordability was a nightmare, there were hardly any homes for sale, and anyone with a good mortgage rate felt completely trapped. It's this feeling of being stuck that millions of us have shared.
And the number one reason for that stuck feeling, it's this number right here. In late 2023, mortgage rates shot past 7.5%. I mean, we haven't seen a jump like that in decades. According to the National Association of Realtors, that single change pushed the typical mortgage payment up by more than $1,000 a month. $1,000. For millions of people, homeownership just became, well, mathematically impossible. But here is where the story really starts to turn. The National Association of Realtors, you'll hear me call them NAR, they framed it perfectly. We're not just getting over some rough patch here. We are transitioning out of a historically difficult time. And that word, transitioning, that's the key. A real shift is underway. So that brings us to where we are right now, a market in transition. Let's look at the actual evidence that things are finally starting to move again. And this really lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you have the market we've all been living in. Sky-high rates created rock-bottom inventory because, hey, who wanted to give up their 3% mortgage? But on the other side, we have this 2026 transition, and it's defined by two huge things: lower rates and, because of that, more supply, more homes finally hitting the market. And look, this isn't just a prediction. The numbers from early 2026 already show it's happening. Freddie Mac's data shows that in mid-February, the average 30-year fixed rate hit 6.01%. We are right on the edge of seeing sub-6% rates for the first time since 2022. That's a huge deal. And to really put that in perspective, check this out. Just 1 year ago, that same rate was up at 6.85%, dropping from nearly 7% to around 6%. That is a massive, massive change in the affordability landscape for anyone trying to buy a home. So when you hear experts call 2026 a transition year, this is exactly what they're talking about. It's not a return to the absolute frenzy of 2021, not at all. It's more of a rebalancing. Affordability gets a little bit better, sales are expected to bounce back by about 14%, and this is crucial, price hikes start to look more sustainable, not like a runaway train. Okay, so the market's changing, we get it, but where is it changing the most? To figure that out, experts have come up with what they're calling the opportunity formula. This quote from the NARE report, this is really the core idea. It's so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Real opportunity isn't just about lower rates. It's about where those lower rates crash into an increasing number of homes for sale. That spot, right where they meet, that's the magic ingredient. So how do they pinpoint that magic spot? Well, NAR looked at two main things. First, how many new households can actually afford to buy a home as the rates come down? And second, and this is so important, they looked at whether the homes coming up for sale actually match what people in that area can afford. Because what good is a new listing if nobody there can actually buy it, right? And the impact of that first part is just staggering. A single percentage point drop in mortgage rates, just from 7% down to 6%, opens the door for an additional 5.5 million households across the country. That includes 1.6 million renters who could now potentially become first-time homebuyers. That is a huge wave of pent-up demand just waiting to be unleashed. So we have the formula, we see the massive potential. The billion-dollar question is, where is this actually happening? So let's dive into the list of 2026's top housing markets. All right, this is it, the moment of truth. Where are these places where lower rates and more affordable homes are finally coming together? Now, these aren't necessarily the cheapest cities in America, not at all. Instead, they're the metro areas where that perfect alignment is happening. Think about a place like Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a perfect example. You've got strong job growth from tech and research, meeting a housing supply that's finally starting to match what the local buyers can actually afford.
And here it is, the full list from NAR in alphabetical order. And you kind of start to see a pattern, right? There's a big cluster in the Southeast: Charleston, Charlotte, Jacksonville, Raleigh, and Richmond. Then you hop over to the Midwest. You've got Columbus, Indianapolis, and Minneapolis, St. Paul. And heading out west, Salt Lake City and Spokane round out the top 10 markets where opportunity is really coming back strong this year. Okay, that was a lot of data. So let's boil all of this down to what it actually means for you. Let's talk about your move in 2026.
Let's make this really tangible. Just look at the real-world savings here. Say you were looking at a $400,000 loan when rates were up at 7.25%. Your payment would have been about $2,729. But at today's rate of around 6%, that same loan costs about $2,398. That's a savings of $331 every single month. That's real money that dramatically boosts your buying power.
And this brings us to a phrase you're probably hearing everywhere in real estate right now: marry the house, date the rate. The whole idea is simple. If you find the right house for you and you can comfortably afford the payment today, you buy it. You don't try to perfectly time the market, because if rates drop further down the road, you can always refinance. You're committing to the home for the long haul, not the interest rate.
So, to wrap it all up, what does this new transition market really mean for you? Well, on the plus side, there are going to be more homes to choose from, especially as those locked-in sellers finally decide to move. And you've always got that potential to refinance later. The flip side, though, as things get more affordable, more buyers are jumping back in, and that means, you guessed it, more competition, especially for those really desirable homes. It's a more balanced market for sure, but that doesn't mean it's an easy one.
Which brings us right back to our original question. After years of feeling like we're running in place, the housing market is clearly, finally, in motion again. We've seen the data, we know the opportunity markets, and we understand the trade-offs. So the final question is a personal one. Is 2026 your year to make a move?